So, Ramesh, I'm going to start the session. Okay. My voice is clear, Ramesh?
Yeah. Voice is clear. You go ahead.
Yeah. So, on behalf of Agimus and Apply World, we welcome all the participants for the session on artificial intelligence in our daily life. So, about this topic to of about 90 minutes. So, this will be there. That is 1 hour. So where we will show you how exactly the artificial intelligence is going to help our daily life. So that is what this topic is all about. And let me just introduce about Agimus and Apply World. So myself, Parmeshwar Nayak. So who is the director and founder of Agimus Technologies. So I have my colleague, Mr. Ramesh Naidu, who is the founder of Apply World. So we have been working with academic industries, defense sectors for providing which is related to electronics and all those. And this is about Apply World. So we have a technology company formed by researchers who had close to about decades of experience in the field of VLSI, IoT, embedded artificial intelligence and machine learning. And what do we offer? We offer a wide range of solutions for electronics and mechanical product solutions. Also the services in the field of artificial intelligence, VLSI, embedded communication, PCB prototyping, to academics, defense, also for the industries. Technology partners. So we have been partnered with NVIDIA for the artificial intelligence and machine learning labs, and we have tie up with CAE, the ANSYS. They have a lot of solutions in terms of the autonomous driving system. They have 5G solutions. All the solutions are there. The FPGA, which everyone knows, like FPGA is related. The Xilinx and Digilent are the manufacturers of these FPGA boards, and we do have a LoRa technology for our Internet of Things solutions. And we do have a mental graphics software for and we have the premium training partner who is the TVS Training Services, TVS Group company. We have a partner of TVS to conduct their training programs. And just to give you an overview, in the daily life, like whatever we use, the Apple Siri, Google Assistant, and the Echo. So these are a few examples of our artificial intelligence in our daily life. I think if some of you using Apple phone, you might be seeing the Siri regularly. So Siri is actually an application of artificial intelligence, and Google Assistants. So that is also one of the application of artificial intelligence. And our expert, today's expert is Mr. Dr. Pramod, so who carries close to over 13 years of industry experience in artificial intelligence and machine learning, deep learning, and there are so many tools he has a knowledge in, like MATLAB. So he's a very good in MATLAB software. So he has published close to about 22 papers, like those are international papers. And Rajesh, who has about 7+ years of experience. So this is our technical expert. We are very strong in technology. And the few projects which we have developed in association with Intuit, this is a project which we have developed. This is actually an artificial intelligence based project, wherein the product, whatever has been developed, will be used to maintain the social distance. If you can see in the image 1 and image 2, then you can see the people are standing in a queue for social distance, and in the image 2, people are standing. One guy is walking in between. The device detects that person, and it will give a notification to maintain the social distance. So this product, it has been developed with about 2 months. So we are able to sell close to about more than thousands of kits to the almost all across India. it has been, I request participants to be on the mute. Okay. So this device has been installed in many of the colleges, schools, and in government offices, bus stand, and everywhere it has been installed. So this product has been developed in association with Entho Technologies. The technology uses LoRa technology and the artificial intelligence. Both are there. And this is one more project what I was talking about, LoRa-based animal tracking and LoRa-based agriculture system. So to track the animal, we have used LoRa gateway, wherein it identifies where exactly the animal's movement. And the second project was Cultivate, which has been implemented in many of the fields, where basically it identifies the soil moisture. If the soil moisture is less, the motor will get automatically on. So that is what this project is based about. And these are few of our customers. Like we have been present in most of the colleges and industries across India. And we do have solutions provided to a defense, which is not we are showing here because of some security reasons. So we have been working with industries, colleges, also in defense. So these are few logos which we have mentioned, but there are close to about 700 plus colleges we have been working, and we are in touch with close to about 2,000 plus colleges conducting training programs and providing our solutions and projects and all those things. And these are few programs, internship and training programs, which we have been conducting at colleges. These programs we have conducted in colleges when the COVID was not there, but because of the COVID scenario, we have come up with online program. So we have been delivering many online programs. So and free webinars also we have been delivering. And this is it from my end. And I welcome once again all the participants for this 90 minutes program. So if anybody has any queries, they can just contact us. The contact details are mentioned in the screen. Now I'll just hand over to Pramod. Pramod, you're there? Pramod? Ramesh, anything is there to add, Ramesh, from your end? Ramesh?
Param? Yeah, Param, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there. I think Pramod is there. I think he is trying to connect. Just a minute.
Yeah, Ramesh, you go ahead. I'm just setting up.
Pramod is there. No, it's great. Like I think Param has covered almost all the topics what he want to say. So it's enough for about 6 to 7 minutes. Now we'll start the session. So if there is any queries from the participants, we'll take it at the end. So dear participants, is there any queries? Please put it in the chat box. We'll reply you. And by end of the session, we can have one-to-one chat if required. So thank you and welcome you all for this session on AI in our daily lives. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
You can go over. Yeah.
My chat box will be there. Give me 1 minute. Good afternoon, everyone. I know after your beginning of the session, I would request all the participants to start up. The session by being at mute. Our focus today would be we'll be discussing on concepts of artificial intelligence in our daily life. And thank you for the warm welcome, Dharmeshwar and Ramesh Naidu. And my name is Dr. Pramod Kumar Naik. So I'll be taking you through an entire journey on artificial intelligence. So what we would be covering today would be a current trend, which I'll be speaking a lot. And the highlights, what we'll be covering is we'll be introducing what is meant by artificial intelligence. Followed by that, we'll take a synergy where what is the difference between data scientists or data analysts, big data, and the current trends associated to artificial intelligence, right? So they say deep learning, machine learning, IoT, big data, right? IoT, when you look into it, how exactly it is related, or big data, how it is related, or they say machine learning versus deep learning. So all these concepts, I have just somewhere around 2 hours probably almost I'll say 1.5 hours. So in that, I'll try my best to transfer whatever knowledge I have. Okay, so that's one of the things which we'll be interested in. The second part would be we'll be having two hands-on session. Everyone is aware of fit bands, so these many hours we have slept. These many steps taken. So how exactly these kind of algorithms are developed, we'll be focusing on that. The third thing which will be on data analysis. Okay, so when it comes to how exactly a data analysis or a manager would be working, we'd also focus on deep learning. So one or two examples on deep learning in terms of demos we have it. So I'll not be able to write a code and show it to you, but what kind of applications would be used in terms of identification or uh, LMST, or how exactly it is related to TensorFlow, Cafe, right? So whenever you look into this particular softwares which have been integration, is there any portability available in it, right? So all those things we'll be covering up today. Followed by that, what are the challenges associated whenever you're working with deep learning workflows? We'll also visualize the insight associated to the training process. So we all know that machines have to be trained. So we'll be going in depth into it. So how exactly, whenever it is performing some imageal visualization, how exactly you'll be able to perform the training process. So that is also one of the things which we will be covering. Followed by that, there are certain what is called as pre-trained networks. So people like Alex who have developed AlexNet, okay, or whatever Alexa we see these days, or it might be Siri, what Param was mentioning in. How exactly these voice-based assistant systems can be developed in, or who was the developer? All those things we'll be checking it in a while. And instead of you spending your time in developing such kind of huge algorithms, how exactly you'll be able to develop such kind of, and that is in terms of what is called as leveraging the pre-trained network to perform new recognition tasks, which is called as transfer learning. So we'll be focusing on all these aspects during our webinar. Okay, so once we go ahead with this, we'll be speeding processors also. So there are currently edge devices which are out there in market. We used to talk about different edge devices, and these days you see that there are certain platforms which you can use in, and where you can make your algorithms to be running at a faster rate. Okay, so those kind of things also would be covered in terms of training processes using what is called as GPUs and the parallel computing tools. So all these things we'll be covering it in a while. So as far as my details are concerned, so I have almost around 15 years of experience. These are my details. Currently, I'm working with Agimus Technologies, and I had worked in various domains. I've taken up almost around 1 year of project where I was working on mapping toolbox for MATLAB for developing the missile. So this was one of the project which was done under Neil Carnegie. Okay, so basically he is the advisor president of India. So that was, I was fortunate enough to work under him also. So currently, when you look into the project carried out here, it was on robotics and artificial intelligence for missile guiding systems. So my part was only in the terms of navigation. So we also have principal investigator Dr. Vinayak also the affiliate scientist who is currently working in HAL Bangalore. So these are the areas which I have worked in. As far as industries are concerned, after my master's, I have also worked in Coral Technologies Bangalore and was taking care of Mathox products in the south, that is Karnataka, Kerala. And Tamil Nadu, probably we have worked for almost 1 year, and after that, it was taken care by one of my colleagues. So this was the domain expertise which I had in. So as far as our technology, Param has already briefed you about whatever we do. So we have product and development manufacturing units. Distributions, as we discussed, he has already mentioned all those details as well as trainings are concerned. So these are our expertise in terms of representation, product development, manufacturing, and training. So we conduct trainings on most of the colleges. And as far as video processing IPs are concerned, we closely work with most of the faculties across Karnataka. Recently, we had conducted one. This is the, I mean, artificial intelligence, the third batch, I guess. So on the first batch, we had a professor working from IISc, and They are working on the similar AI applications, and they are trying to develop an AI-based IP, that's your neural network IP. So we are fortunate enough to guide them and I'll not say guide them, consult them in terms of able to work with those technologies currently. So if you look into it, we have been executing the research funded projects also, where the college also will have a win-win situation where we completed their project within the stipulated time, and we also support faculties for their research work, students for their projects, right? So and also develop different kinds of platforms, and we also provide you custom boards, which Param was mentioning, like FPGAs. We also have GPUs, NVIDIA TX1, TX2, and DX stations we provide in. So if there is any requirement associated to setting up any center of excellence in the college, you can obviously contact us. I mean, if it is pertaining to our region of interest or our area of expertise, we would be interested in helping out in setting up the facilities in the college. Followed by having today is, let us come back to our topic today. So our topic is on what is called as artificial intelligence, and basically when you look into this technology, okay, current we are in 2020. So basically when you look into by 20 have huge implications. It might be in terms of healthcare, logistics. uh, if I talk about these two sectors, currently in Bangalore, we have somewhere around 128 companies, startups who are working on these domains. Last week, we had the Prime Minister of India and the Government of India signing up the treaty on AI. Okay, so you have around a lot of grants which you can access in, and the grants would of 1 year plus. Okay, if you are planning to start up companies on those areas. So as far as home maintenance and customer services are concerned, so these are a few of the uh, areas where you can see artificial intelligence coming into picture. As far as the main objective of this particular webinar is, whoever is attending this webinar, it might be engineering graduates, faculty, students. Our intention is to transfer how exactly AI is available in market and how it is impacting our daily life. Okay, so whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, people say that it's very complex, but this particular diagram, which we call it as the Venn diagram, basically here, if you see here, is artificial intelligence is a technique which enables the computer to mimic what is called as human intelligence using certain set of logic. Okay, so there would be which will be running at the back based on that particular conditions. Okay, you would be able to mimic what is called as, and that is called as artificial intelligence. So it might be in terms of object detection, it might be in terms of voice assistance, it might be in terms of self-driving of cars, it might be in terms of robotics, it might be in terms of a machine playing a chess, or it might be you playing a PUBG game, and based on that, it would give you a review where exactly say the enemy territory is and where exactly the other team is. Okay, or you have an option where uh, there is a game called as alpha game, alpha go. Okay, so basically this kind of areas you can see people are using artificial intelligence widely. Okay, so what happens inside artificial intelligence here is, if I look into my diagram here, it might be say identification of vehicles using a drone. Okay, last day I was just checking out with Dr. Hans website, and I was able to see one of the area where they are this miniature drones to identify vehicles or identifying theft, right? So such kind of things can be, such kind of algorithms can be built in where the drone is having a wireless camera, or it might be a Zigbee-based camera, which can transmit a real-time video, and then it can be for identification of criminals, or it might be identification of face, right? So using drones, such kind of application. So you do not have a camera which is placed at one location. You can have multiple drones flying at different locations, and it might be a card festival, right? So where the crowd is very huge and you want these drones to fly at a higher altitude. Okay, So if you're flying at a higher altitude, at that scenario, okay, at that scenario, you would be able to use these particular kind of operations. Okay, so we have Ganesh asking it to annotate it. We'll obviously do that. The annotating app which we had in, okay, we'll use the this one. So whenever identify the vehicles at a higher altitude, we'll be able to do that. Followed by that, we would be focusing on what is machine learning. So when you look into this flow here, machine learning is basically a part of what is called as artificial intelligence, or it is a subset of what is called as artificial intelligence. Okay. So as far as subset is concerned, it might be any statistical method. So you might be from different domain. Okay. And uh, so you might be from different domain. What would happen is it might be in terms of techniques, or it might be in terms of enabling machines to improve its task. You'd be using machine learning as a tool. So whenever you are working with machine learning, one important thing is you cannot load a raw data. So your data should be in terms of characters, and it should be a labeled data which you'll be loading in. And as we go further with it, we would be talking about deep learning, deeper the network. We'd be having something called as learning, which would be coming into market, where you have different people who are working in this area in terms of deep learning and machine learning. And it might be simple, say, projects which have been developed by companies like Google Minds, right? So you would be requiring those algorithms to be performing at a higher rate. So that time you'll be going for what is called as NVIDIA Jetson Nano platform. Let me tell you, this can work as a what is called as uh, a single board computer. And if I have a i7 Intel processor, it will be having somewhere around 4 cores in it. Okay, so it will be having somewhere around 4 cores available in it. But when you look into this particular device here, it would be having somewhere around, so like that we have KX1, KX2, and NVIDIA recently, yesterday, it released the TG1 form which has been released into the market. So as far as artificial intelligence is concerned, which was developed by Google, and the TensorFlow package was left into market. And we also would be discussing on how to be able to work on TensorFlow and Caffe model, and you would be able to develop algorithms like deep fakes, right? So the face of Modi would be running in, and someone else would be speaking on his behalf, and face exactly would change in. Such kind of deep fakes can be created in using machine learning. So that's what is our focus. So just remember, artificial intelligence is the outer shell. Inner to that, you'll be having what is called as machine learning. As we go deeper into the algorithms, we'll be having a terminology which is called as neural network. Okay. So if time permits, I'll show you a demo on neural network also. This is the ideology which we have in terms of neural network. You can use it for classification of different objects. Okay. So as far as the technology is concerned these days, you can see here, only problem notation. Yeah. Give me 1 second so that I can just clear. So once we are going, what is called as growing across industry, so it might be industry just talking about, uh, it might be in terms of, say, defense communication, okay, or it might be consumer electronic. So currently you can see that there are a lot of fundings associated to it, where you're working on developing certain communication devices in terms of what is called as coming up with your own radios. Okay, so 5G radios, you can see a lot of people are working in this. So Triple IT Hyderabad, they are setting up their own 5G lab, right? So we also have IIT Kharagpur, where there is a 5G lab where they are trying to use what is called as AI incorporated into 5G. So it will be having multi-standard of communications, where you will be having industrial IoT kind of architecture on vehicles, where uh, transmission rate would be very large. I hope people have attended our session on 5G also, which we did last week. Okay, so we had discussed on all those aspects. As far as consumer electronics. The simple example is Siri or Alexa. So voice assistant systems currently a mobile phone. So I'm talking about a technology which is being used in a different areas. So last day I was just happy to talk to one of my colleagues who is working with Samsung. His name is Ethan. So he was one of my students way back in 2010. Currently, he is leading the team in Samsung in Bangalore, and they are working on this voice assistant system. So Samsung is also coming up with its own voice assistant system. I think I'll not be able to name the app currently now. Okay, but just remember, I think couple of days once that is created, since we have your email ID, we'll share you that link also. You can just go to that. So what they are currently developing in voice assistant system is there were a couple of patients who were suffering from cancer. Okay, and since after the death of those people, you will not be having like, I mean, feel of those people how exactly they were speaking all those scenarios. So we are talking about a technology where people who are about to die or who are suffering from cancer, their voice is being actually pre-recorded, and once those people are dead, you would be able to assist and talk to those people. Yet, so once the people are dead, okay, even though they are dead, the brain or whatever the voice assistant system, which has been uh, say what kind of schedule you have in. So, or people say if your cousin or your mom, someone is dead, and you want their voices to be stored, and they wake you up, they ask you to have breakfast regularly. So, such kind of assistant systems, Samsung is working in. I think about this weekend, I think they'll be releasing it with the name of I mean, they'll be releasing it this week, so you can just have a look into that. So, such kind of algorithm can be developed. And let me tell you, these algorithms were developed by in assistance with few of the research scholars who are working in few of the engineering colleges, and there were few startups who have worked on this. So such kind of algorithms in terms of voice controlled enabled automation systems, or it might be in automotive traffic systems like sensor processing, automotive driving systems. So these kind of demos, what we have in, which we have developed in, we'll just show it to you once we go further. So it might be in terms of self-driving cars or automatic driving assistance systems, artificial intelligence is widely used. Followed by that, industrial automation also, if you look into it, KUKA, I think everyone has heard of this particular name. So they are coming into Indian market where they'll be setting up their own uh, robotics laboratory. Okay, so I mean, we are in touch with these people where you will be able to have different kinds of industrial robotic kind of applications where you will be able to analyze the predictions in terms of production and maintain it remotely. So I'm talking about a synergy where Tesla last week, because of this COVID-19, the factories of Tesla were not completely closed. There were certain virtual factories which were remotely controlled, and they were manufacturing vehicles. So this was one of the article which was published in Forbes yesterday. You can just check out for that. You can just type virtual industries space or plus Tesla plus Forbes. If you just type in Google, you can see that entire article where they had an virtual, what is called as factory for developing the Tesla. Okay, so this is one of the things we might have seen, say, robots developing Iron Man suit, right? So such kind of things, we are already in that age, and you'll be able to not only see in movies, but you'll be able to visualize that in what is called as current technology. So as far as these technology which have been pointed out here, so you can see here, this is Google Siri. I think, I mean, so Apple Siri, and then you have Google Assist. I'm sorry about that. So Microsoft is coming up with its own package, which is called as Microsoft Cortana. So you can actually say schedule your meetings. It would help you like print out your calendar. It would tell you like when you have to pay your premiums. It would also check out the share markets and tell that this I mean share values are going down. Please go and work out on that. So such kind of things you can go ahead with what is called as Google Assist. And as far as Amazon is concerned, Amazon also has developed its own what is called as Echo, which we call it as Amazon, which is a voice assistant system. To continue further, I request participants to be on the mute mode, followed by coming up with its test Tesla Autopilot. Okay, so this is one of the area where when you just press a button, the vehicle automatically drives itself and it would be moving around. We also have Google Waymo, and Apple also has invested somewhere around 300 million on its self-driving technology. So Apple is also working a lot on it. We also have Ford Argo. So you can see here, you have key J. Basically, I was talking about AlphaGo. Like it looks similar to the, on the right, you can see that the robot is playing chess here. This board, which you can see, it is called as AlphaGo. Chinese chess, which is very difficult, and compared to the number of what is called as the compared to the normal chess which we play. So game, okay, was played by the same robo. Okay, I mean, we had IBM Watson robo which played this, and we had the Google DeepMind algorithm which was running on it, and it defeated Keeley Chi. Basically, he was the grandmaster of. Okay, so currently it has defeated him not once time. It was somewhere around 7 times it had defeated him, and you can see the scores also. It was somewhere around. This is the score of Alpha, where you can see the PG is has been projected at the top. Okay, so this was the future of artificial intelligence, and currently let us discuss on the 3 stages of artificial intelligence. So way back when I was doing my engineering 2007, my engineering graduate is on electrical and electronics. We had a subject called as fuzzy and neural network. Okay, I'm talking about the year 2007. We had neural network toolbox that time only. Okay, so we used to hate that lab because, like, I mean, we were not able to understand the concepts thoroughly, because directly they started talking about neurons. They used to mention, like, okay, the way you are talking, the way we are moving in, the way we are communicating is basically because of the neurons which are out there. We also call it as perceptron. Okay, so when people talk perceptron in terms of AI, we'd be wondering what is this new term, right? So imagine this was being taught to us in 2007. Okay, so now currently when everyone talks about AI, that syllabus is only being removed from this. I mean, I don't want to mention the university, but that doesn't have any. What happened after that is we were asked to take projects in the similar area, which when you look into that engineering branch, it was tough. I still remember my friends pointing out that electrical engineering is one of the toughest branch. But people who have worked in this particular domain, I think they have been covered up with all the concepts associated to your engineering. Okay, why I'm talking about all these things is currently you go to any industry, it might be automotive industry. So why doing my engineering, or I'll say 2007 or 2010, you had ambassador vehicles, which was completely mechanical in synergy, mechanical parts in it. Okay. After that, you had Maruti 8. You had to use press a button to move your window up and down, right? So you had electrical and mechanical engineers working together, where there was a battery which had to be had a BMS system in it and model it. Followed by that, Scorpio came into market, where used to, I mean, whenever there is a rain, the sensors used to locate it and identify it, and the wipers of the vehicle would automatically turn on. Okay. After that, Scorpio again came up with one more advent with that of Volkswagen. Okay. So when you press a button, the vehicle used to go and automatically park. Followed by that, we have self-driving cars, where you just go inside, open the door of a car, and then sit inside the vehicle and tell the location. Right? It will drive and why all these example, or why I am talking about all these years, is artificial intelligence was way back developed in 2015 only, but we are currently here 2020. So whatever algorithms which were developed during this age was called as artificial narrow intelligence. Currently, we are here where we talk about artificial general intelligence, and somewhere in 2050, machines would surpass human intelligence. So that would be called as artificial super intelligence. So just remember the 3 stages of artificial intelligence is artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial. So when you look into this classification, what are the things which come out there? So when you look into artificial narrow intelligence, like big data, and we had free softwares like Hadoop, Scala coming into picture, or MATLAB, right? So these softwares were used and then used to process it and develop certain algorithms out of it. That was your artificial narrow intelligence. As far as artificial general intelligence is concerned, it was basically on ad hoc systems where you had data which was very large. It has to be processed, and you have self-driving cars, or it might be algorithms associated to uh, Echo or AlphaGo, right? So such kind of algorithms where there is deep neural network which is running at the back. Okay, so such kind of things we'll be looking in terms of artificial general intelligence. As far as artificial super intelligence is concerned, so here if you look into this, so this is in the year 2050. Even your humans, I mean, you would be talking about a synergy where you as a human will not be training the machine. Machine it will do the self characterization and it will be having the cognitive self by itself. So I'm talking about two different projects now. One project which would be revolutionized, like it might be, say, there would be a government job publication, or you might be going for an interview in an X company. Okay, so your resumes, your interview, and the final selection of the candidate would be done by a machine. Okay, and an example, this is where EMC Square, which is your Dell and Goldman Sachs, they are working on this particular area. Okay, so it might be Cisco also, they are also switching their gears to what is called as AI these days. So you can see this is one of the technology which should be out there for another 50 years, okay, which would be ruling our market. Okay, so people who are able to work in this area would be the people who would be able to, right? Far as the components are concerned, so what is the role of a data scientist is you might be from different engineering domains, right? It might be basically technology and expertise in your domain. Okay, so whatever statistical methods are there, a combination of technology is nothing but data. So uh, data science can be applied in mechanical, electrical, it might be in terms of computer science, right? So it might be in terms of finance, right? So these days, whatever projects, especially students who are attending it, I gave you an example previously in terms of a vehicle. But remember, whatever project these days you work in, okay, it will be multidisciplinary. So that first year basic concepts will be studying, that would be a challenging thing. And if you're coming out from, say, uh, triple E, mechanical and civil, okay, which are called as the mother engineering branches. I mean, for you to switch your domain would not be that difficult because you might have studied all these concepts in terms of technology. Okay, so there are domain expertise. Okay, so say for example, you might ask me like civil engineering. This guy is telling me like he can work as a data scientist. How? So I'll give you a simple example like dam, right? And there are say substation or electrical substations which are being connected to it. So there is something called as load shedding, right? So as a engineer, okay, if he is aware of certain statistical methods, which they obviously do it, okay, he would be able to apply that in terms of what is the amount of electricity consumed by X city, okay, and then apply the technology in that domain. Okay, so if you go to different case studies based on domain, not only the mother branches, it might be computer science, IAS, or it might be the engineering domain. You can apply your technology and then you would be able to develop different algorithms out there. There are different sectors which we look into it. So it might be a mobile phone which you're using in where you're working on social networking, where you're extracting different data, and that particular data would get stored in a database which we call it as cloud. It might be a search engine like Google. You just go and search for a PDF or a IEEE paper. It gets saved here. You also would be having a healthcare sector where you're loading your data into what is called as cloud. It might be also finance and public sector. So based on this data, okay, based on this data, they extract different information based on the needs of the customer. I'm repeating it, based on the needs of the what is called as customer. So based on the needs of the customer, would be able to come up with what is called develop certain digital services, develop certain data products or information driven applications. So this is one of the area which you can look into it and develop your own data science products it based on the information which you receive it. So how exactly this would influence is, say for example, I go into a Facebook page. Okay, I log in into a website, say Azumas Technologies or Applywood, and I just check what are the product solutions they have. Okay, I have gone and clicked on that particular button here. Okay, so once I click on that particular button, the data scientist will do something called as web scraping. So whatever website is there, you run the web scraping algorithm here. A database, whoever has logged in into your what is called as website, you'll be having that data in terms of an Excel sheet. You'll be having what is called as Google form. We would be having the right, and directly with a click of a button you can extract that particular Google sheet. So that kind of concept is called as web scraping, where you can extract information and then create what is called as different service products. Okay, so as a data scientist or as an engineer, irrespective of your domain, you have these what is called as skills available with you. Getting placed or getting high salary is not at all a problem. Okay, so further with this, where exactly data science can be applied in terms of health sector, I'll be taking a demo across on this area also. So we have talked about Fitbands, right? So if there is a what is called a digital device or a Fitband, okay, it will be having different sensors on it. So it might be your accelerometer data or it might be a gyroscope data. So through the gateway, the data would be transferred into what is called as a cluster or to a server, where you'll be having as machine learning algorithms for data analysis happens in, and based on that it will give you a data engagement where as a user you can tell, like, see, this person's BP is very high, I can start up jogging every day in the morning. Okay, so such kind of algorithms in terms of dashboard also you'll be developing in, and it would take somewhere around if you are comfortable with working with Python and TensorFlow, it takes somewhere around 6 months to develop it. Just okay. So one of the professor who was one of my close friends, like we had Mr. Vyasraj, who is from BNMIT. He is working in this particular area where we are trying to have the sensor data and develop what is called as helps you take decisions. Okay. So exactly these can be done, just checking it. So before going into that, we'd be talking about what is the role of a data scientist. So as a data scientist, whatever data you have, which is stored in a huge cluster like this, okay, it might be inside a website, it might be in terms of a server, or it might be in terms of an Excel sheet. Whatever data has been acquired in through a mobile phone or through a website or through a cluster or through a Google form. Okay, so as a data scientist, you should ask what is called as the right question. So what is this data for? What I'll be doing the processing with it, right? So once you have asked the right question and you have acquired that particular data, you perform what is called as different data pre-processing steps, like whatever data I have in. So if it is in an Excel sheet where there are somewhere around X and Y coordinates in it, okay, so I'll be having somewhere around 7,000 to 12,000 lines of data. Okay, so this would be somewhere around 12,000 to 13,000. But in between, if there is one data which is missing out like this, so we have to look into that data, where if I use the same missing data, which is the erroneous data, okay, this is the error which it has, and then develop a machine learning model, okay, it would not give me better efficiency. So I would be performing what is called as different process of data wrangling, okay, and then based on that particular data, I would be using different statistical and machine learning algorithms and visualizing data, and based on the machine learning algorithms, I would be predicting the data report out of it, and also develop certain products associated to whatever algorithms or whatever area which I'm working in. To sum up this particular slide, I can take a simple example. Say, I am what is called as a firm, basically would help people or investors who come to my firm to tell them which share to purchase or which not to. And it's not who I'll be developing it. It will be the data scientist. It will be the data scientist who would be doing it. So what does the data scientist do? He goes to website. Okay. So you know that through web scraping, how exactly you can extract the data from one complete website. Okay. So you'll be extracting the data. Once the data has been extracted, he'll check for the data with just 5 lines of code, and then perform data wrangling out of it on whatever data he requires in. Okay, and basically he is planning to purchase Jindal share, and it is having all the data associated with all the shares, right? So he would be interested in which year it, what was the value of that particular share. current year, what is the value of that share. He requires only 2 columns. So delete rest of the things, and based on that, he develops and then visualizes and develops a product or an app which can tell you which share to be purchased, which share, which not to. Okay, so this is the role of what is called as a data scientist. So as far as the demand of data scientists is concerned, when you look into different articles which have been published in, so this is one of the article which is very close to my heart. So you can just look into it. This was from 2019. He also talks about how exactly Forbes Technology Council, where you have how exactly the data scientist current salaries are. You can see that data scientists are the guys who just work for 3 to 4 hours, not more than that. Okay, so as a lead, you'd be working for just 3 to 4 hours, and if you're comfortable by using any of the tool, it might be say TensorFlow, it might be Python, TensorFlow, okay, scikit-learn. So these are few of the free packages which you have in. You are comfortable with Hadoop, okay, or Scala, and then you have MATLAB, okay, then deep learning and machine learning toolboxes which are out there. Okay, so we'll discuss on that aspect once again. Just go and type the birth of data science generation. So it will give you an entire synergy starting from 2015. Okay. From there, how exactly big data came into picture, how big data is associated to IoT. All those things have been pointed out in this particular section. Data analytics, when you look into it, it might be in terms of accessing the data. So as a data scientist, you can access different kinds of data, right questions, and basically if you go to a doctor, he would ask you what has happened, why it happened, and what will happen, and based on that you'd be decision. So say for example, you go to a doctor, will he directly prescribe you a medicine? No. What he will do is he'll be asking different questions, like he'll be asking you to describe what has happened. Based on that, he may check your blood pressure, right? He may ask you to go and do what is called as blood tests. So based on that, he might arrive or tell you or give you a prescription and predict and prescribe, based on which you'll be able to tell the decision and action. Is concerned, you can access, explore different kinds of data. Okay, it might be in terms of file, database, sensor, and it will be basically a raw data set which you take in, and then from the raw sensor data you'll be able to extract features, which is basically accessing the data and performing the pre-processing out of it. Once you have developed, you would be able to develop what's called machine learning model out of it, and then generate code, and then you'll be able to deploy it in your hardware of your choice. It might be an app also. Okay, so this entire flow will be checking it in a while. So what I'll do here is I'm just parallelly switching it to what is called as my MATLAB software, okay, where I'm trying to identify what is called as the human activity. So you have sensor data which is out there. From the sensor data, okay, when the person is having that specific device with him, how many steps he has taken, or whether he was walking, whether he was sitting, whether he was sleeping, or whether he was standing, whether he was climbing a stair. So such kind of analysis which will be doing it using what is called as your normal mobile data. We all have touchscreen based mobiles where you can see that there are different sensors. So this is how your fit bands can be developed in. We'll not be using all the 7 sensors which are there in your mobile phone. We use only 2 sensors, okay? And based on that, I have to tell when the person is having the phone with him or carrying the phone in his pocket, whether the person sitting, standing, right? So such kind of decisions I have to take in. So we just capture the data for somewhere around 2.56 seconds. Okay. I'll show you what would be the data size also, and that data size would be in terms of somewhere around 128 readings per window. So if you are just capturing a data of 7 sensors are there, and you're capturing the data only 2.56 seconds, okay, it would give you 128 readings per window. So what would be the size? Let me just show it to you. So from the sensor would be taking up only two data, is accelerometer data and your gyroscope. So if I try to extract this particular data, you can see the size here on the right corner. Size here, which is somewhere around 7,352 cross 128 double. So this should be amount of data which you are capturing it. Okay, so this is the amount of data, 2.56 seconds. Okay, sensor would have how many data? So you will be capturing data associated to what? Associated to what? X, Y, and Z. 3 quadrants. So this would be your what is called as your accelerometer sensor data with respect to of Z. This is what? X. So like that, both the sensor, that is your accelerometer sensor as well as your gyroscope. Okay, it is having X, Y, and Z. X, and Z. So this data we'd be taking in and then we'll be processing. Okay, so if you look in this particular data set here, so as visualizing of that particular data set is concerned, this next question here, you can see here whatever that accelerometer data was there. Okay, whatever that accelerometer data was there, you are trying to visualize that in terms of what is called as a graph. So if you look here in the graph, okay, the blue thing which is out here is the sensor data associated to a person when the person is lying. That means the phone is with him in his pocket and the person is lying down on a ground. You can see blue and yellow or green and yellow there. Okay, I'm sorry, green and yellow. So this is the data associated to the person. Okay, this is the data associated to the person when the person is climbing the stairs. And green indicates when the person is walking and climbing are not. The variation in case of climbing is more. Let me tell you, we have not at all applied what is called as machine learning. We have just plotted the of a scatter plot in terms of whatever data set we had in. So whatever this data which has been plotted here is the data associated with a mobile phone when he is lying, sitting, climbing, standing, and walking. Okay, so if I go for this particular program here, machine learning algorithm on it, okay, apply machine learning on it, what I'll do is I'll not take this entire sample of data. Instead of that, I'll take the mean associated to the raw sample data set and then save it inside a what is called as variable, which is called as human activity. Once this is been done in the program, I'm just invoking an app, okay, which is an inbuilt app, which is moving, standing, and so on. So I'll say from workspace here, and then you can see as extracting from different values. I can just go here and then say human activity data. You will be able to see the predictors as well as the response associated to those people. I want to reduce what is called as overfitting. I'll just increase the crossfold to somewhere around 10, and then I'll come and click on start session. So what it will do is whatever you had your algorithm, okay, so whatever your data, you have loaded it into the classifier learner, and now if I right click here, okay, these are your different machine learning algorithms, like it might be linear algorithm, quadratic, SVM, different machine learning algorithms which are out there. I can use that and then develop algorithms of my own, or I can just go and select these algorithms instead of wasting my time. I can just select one of these machine learning algorithm like Findly, and then I have to just come and click on this particular train button. But on the right corner, you can see that it would start up the parallel. What is meant by parallel pool? In C programming, in basics of computer programming, we're taught about parallel processing and pipelining. So if my system is a i5, so last day, we went to go for a systems. These days, systems come up with GPUs directly with SSD. Right? Whenever you go for what is called as systems, it would automatically turn on your parallel pool. What does this parallel pool mean? This parallel pool which has been shown here would be on, say, in your system, there would be 4 processors, right? It would turn up 2 processors in your system. Once the parallel pool has connected to the parallel pool, and the number of workers currently, you can see that number of workers are, it is 2, right? It has started up the training here. Okay, so you as a designer can go and select multiple machine learning algorithms, and then with a click of button, you will be able to see that in terms of a plot. You can also go and check the confusion matrix associated to it. So with a click of button, you'll be able to see the confusion matrix. So what does this mean is lying getting identified as something called as lying. You'll be having somewhere around 1407. What is samples getting identified? That means if I'm using tree machine learning algorithm, you are getting an accuracy of somewhere around 80.9. If I'm using an accuracy of somewhere around 95, okay, that means that machine learning algorithm is ideal. Okay, so sitting getting identified as sitting, or lying getting identified as lying, or climbing getting identified as standing. You can see this is an error which is shown here. Climbing getting identified as sitting. Climbing getting identified as sitting is somewhere around. Standing getting identified as somewhere around sitting, it is an error which is 105. We can also true classes. So this is the accuracy of true positives and false negatives. Okay, so this is your type 1 error and this is your type 2 error. Okay, so whoever is working in terms of TensorFlow, you can see the type 1 and type 2 errors here also. So you can just click a button here and then you can export that particular model as a trained model, and then you can save it inside whatever your model, whatever you have developed. So within this much time, you are able to develop an application or a machine learning model. You can see here, this is the model which you can use it later. When you load the same set of data from different mobile, it can tell you whether the person is sitting, standing, moving, walking, or so on. Okay. Come back here. Let me just show it to you. So based on your data, that was your sensor data. Okay. If I'm using like 80.9, that means based on the sensor data, lying getting identified as lying, sitting getting identified as sitting, standing getting identified as standing is being answered by your machine. We all know that our data would be classified or divided into things. So based on the performance, it is giving you this accuracy. Once this here, so we were able to access this entire algorithm. You can also generate code and then deploy the algorithm on hardware of your choice. Okay, it might be a FPGA, it might be a Raspberry Pi, or it might be one of the hardware of your. So the same workflow can be done in terms of Python also, where you can acquire the data, it branch it. So pre-processing steps you do, for that you have a library called as NumPy and Pandas. You also can explore and visualize the data. So for exploring the data and visualizing, you have Matplotlib. Okay, so this is one of the library which is out there. So these are few of the packages which you go on adding up in terms of Python. But in MATLAB, that is not required. There are toolboxes which are already being inbuilt. So when you purchase the entire package, you'll be able to see that. As far as model development is concerned, you'll be working with scikit-learn and NumPy, and followed by that visualization, you have Booken and SCI. Basically, it is used for scientific visualization. So what you can do is you can acquire the data, wrangle the data, explore the data, analyze it, visualize it, and then develop a model for your machine learning predictions. So either the flow can be from MATLAB or it might be using Python. Computer vision, as far as computer vision in terms of say AI, if you know it, it is widely used in different movies. So it is in terms of judgment, and it might be in terms. So machine learnings can be understood, and that would change the future. So this was one of the movie which was very close to me, and you can see during those time only they were predicting like how exactly your AI would be there. But currently we see that people are working in this to develop their own algorithm. So what kind of algorithms can this is one of the demo of YOLO algorithm where you can see vehicles are automatically getting identified, right? So this is a computer vision technique where you can see people on the road, pedestrian, traffic lights, all these things are getting identified on real-time scenario. And such kind of applications can be developed, and you can leverage algorithms
Pramod,
associated with it.
Pramod, just one feedback. I suggest you to go a little bit slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So been done. We also have what is called as the robots, where you can see that the color identification of the chalks can be done on real-time scenario, which is on my left here. Okay, it is on my left, where you can see that the robot is picking up the chalk of blue. There is a computer vision application which is running at the back, where you can see that the chalk of blue is being picked up, and put in the ball of blue. Okay, so you can see that this kind of setup is already available in NI Mysore. Dr. Prakash from Mechanical Engineering. He was also a special officer in VTU way back in 2010. So when I was in VTU Belgium, so he is one of the special officers, and he is currently working in NI in mechanical department. So he has already set up this Rexroth Bosch Center in Mysore, and currently in Mangalore also we have Rexroth Bosch Center, which is in Mangalore Institute of Technology, or we also call it as MITE. You can just go and visit there. So such kind of computer vision applications can be developed in for object detection, and leverage your machine learning and deep learning applications where it will be develop meaningful results. So what meant by machine learning? Okay, so when you look into machine learning, basically it is uses what is called as data, and based on your given data, it produces a program. Okay, I'm repeating it. Based on your given data, it program to perform what is called as a specific task. Okay, so how exactly these algorithms are developed in is based on one method is we used to use what is called as handwritten code. The other is where you'll be having a combination of computer vision and machine learning. A combination of these two, you'll be able to develop what is called as machine learning algorithms on your area of interest. Of learning are concerned. So in machine learning, associated to supervised and unsupervised learning. So whenever you talk about supervised, the professor is in the class and he is teaching you something. That is an example for supervised learning. Then the question would arise, what is meant by unsupervised learning? Unsupervised learning is basically when the person takes a textbook, goes home, and does self-study by himself. So that is called as supervised learning. So whenever you talk about supervised learning, you'll be having both input and output. Whereas in case of unsupervised learning, you would be having only, I repeat, you'll be having only input. So based on only input, your data has to get clustered or grouped together. So to perform that, there are different kinds of algorithms. We call them as classification, regression, so which comes under supervision or supervised learning. And then there is clustering, which comes under unsupervised learning. So what happens in classification? Basically, it will be having divider sitting, that is a class, right? True or false, blue, green, and red. So that is classification. In case of regression, the output would be in terms of what is called as real number. What is meant by clustering then? It will not have, okay, I'm repeating it. Clustering basically would not have outputs, so machine would group the data. So how exactly the machine learning classification and clustering is out there? So let us look into a video. So in case of machine learning, basically they are divided into supervised, unsupervised. So under that there are three categories. One is called as classification, another is called as clustering, third is called as regression. So when you come to class, imagine you are given with three set of cards, or there are three set of cards which are given to you, and you are asked to what is called as group or group the data. So the associated to dog, animal, dog, or it might be cat and bird, and as animal with 4 leg, animal with 2 leg, right? I might segregate the data non-vegetarian. Someone else might group the data size of their nose, right? So like that, if you are grouping people, whatever they have done, the grouping is correct. So such kind of thing, if it is being done by a machine based on your input data, it is called as what? It is called as clustering. Then what happens in classification is the data would be having features, right? So the length of the nose, the length of the nose of cat, the length of the nose of a bird, ears. So there are features here. So based on that, you are classifying the data, stating that it is a dog, it's a cat, and it's a bird, is called as classification. So this is how classification looks like. So when I pass a new set of image, it will get identified as cat. When I pass a new set of image of a dog, it will get identified as dog. When I pass a new set of image of a bird, it would get identified as a bird. The basically would have value, numerical value. So what those are? So dog, cat, and bird would have a specific running speed. So based on that running speed, if you are classifying the data, okay, that is called as what? That is called as regression. Regression can be done in terms of length or in terms of weight and so on. When you look into classifier, just remember whatever we just with respect to what is called as a data which was plotted in. When you apply machine learning, it is just drawing a circle which is classifying or categorizing the data into category 1 and category 2. The workflow, it's very simple. You'll be having a training data set. You'll be extracting features from it. Once you have extracted the features, you create a model. So this entire phase where you have created a model using 70% of your data is called as training. Once you have performed the training, you'll be performing classification or testing. So you'll be taking a new image and whatever features are extracted, that you pass it to the classification app. It will a hat. So this particular phase is called as your training classification phase. And machine learning, basically you saw that we just use one set of machine learning algorithm there. It might be using SVM, nearest neighbor, decision tree, increment analysis, assemble classifiers, right? So there are different kinds of machine learning algorithms which you can use in, and it's basically a permutation and combination method to fit based on whichever machine learning gives you the highest accuracy, you would be using that particular machine learning algorithm. So the features can be extracted like it might be brisk, freak, serve, histogram, or bag of words, and so on. So these were few feature extraction commands which can be used in for extracting the features from whatever data you have in. So if I classify the image of a car, when I apply such feature extraction or filtering method or feature methods, you can see that these are the handcrafted features which I get in, and based on that, I'll be performing what is called as classification and machine learning, through which I'll be able to classify the data on real. We're trying to use it for object detection or recognition, where you take a photo from your phone and then when you pass it through what is called as a layer of networks, it will say that it is DAISY. So this is where your object detection and recognition comes into picture. So such kind of things can be applied on real. So this was one of the program or one of the example which we just took in to identify what is called as a real time, what is called as analysis of machine learning to identify the data on real time, and also develop as standalone applications associated to whatever data you have. So whatever example we just showed you, so once you have your mobile turned on, you can have accelerometer data, gyroscope, and your tensometer data, where you will be able to capture the angular velocity, okay, in terms of x, y, and z. So this was the data which you just took in, and the same sensors would be out there in your Fitband also, based on which it will tell you how many hours of sleep Pramod had last night when that particular Fitband was connected to, or he was wearing it, right? So such kind of you can develop in using by writing few lines of code and developing complex machine learning algorithms. So this was the analogy which we just took in. Imagine you writing a what is called as a hand to identify whether the person is standing, sitting, walking, or moving. The same thing can be done by developing a model, and that model based on your new sensor data, okay, would whether the person is sitting, standing, walking, or moving. Hence, machine learning uses what? Uses sensor data, and it produced what? Okay, what was the program? It was performing a task. What was the person is sitting, standing, moving, walking, or so on. So it depends upon what kind of data you had. This was a standard approach, what is called as your machine learning approach. Just remember, data produces a program to perform a task, hence the name machine learning. On deep learning, what is deep learning? Basically, deep learning is also a type of machine learning in which model learns to perform classification directly from images, text, or sound. It is usually implemented using what? Neural network. Okay, or learning is implemented using what is called as neural network. Deeper the network, it is called as deep learning. And as far as the term deep is referred to, it is basically the number of layers in the network. Okay, so how exactly it will be having what is called as CNN, which we call it as convolutional neural networks. So it might be CNN, RCNN, FIN, right? So there are different things which are out there in market. But at least if you know something about CNN, later analyzing those architectures would be very easy. Understand one thing here. In case of machine learning, if I want to pass an image to my classifier, I had to extract features. Or your CNN or your deep neural network, in your deep neural network, once I input anything, the feature extraction would be done by itself using what is called as convolution. If you perform the convolution operation, okay, it might be circular convolution. Followed by that, it will perform different kinds of filtering, and it will also perform, it will be having a combination of ReLU layer in it. Convolution ReLU, with that there will be somewhere around 25 layers. Okay, so it will be, these layers would be developed by the deep data scientist. So whatever Alexa you see, there are 21 people who have finished PhD on that area. Alex was had developed that I'll come to that in a while. So just these network is trial and error. So AlexNet has somewhere around 25 layers, whereas it has and for layers where the where in classification you'll be having flattening, fully connected, and software. So whatever your image is there, it will be converted into first in, first out, and then it will be passed one by one. Hence, once it is being passed one by one, okay, you'll be able to visualize the data as whatever input image was fed was nothing but the image of a peak. So this is which I just wanted to show you. This is how exactly your AlexNet was developed. So the person on the middle is the person who is AlexNet. This was a paper which was developed in 2012, and you can see that it was millions of images like this, which was passed through it. Once the training was completed, they came up with a model, and once that particular model was passed with new set of images, it was able to perform what is called as classification. So 1 million images with 1,000 classes with 25 layers, AlexNet was developed. Network in MATLAB, there is something called as design network. You can train that once it has been developed. You can have a combination where you can import Python networks like Alexa, AlexNet, VGG16, ResNet 50, signature classification, cancer cell detection, OXNet. Basically, this is a converter cafe. So DeepMinds, or it might be developing something called as, most of you might have seen news these days. So at the backdrop, you will be able to see into that these algorithms uh, change the entire background, right, and optimize that, and you will be able to deploy it on hardware of your choice. So how exactly deep learning can be demo, where you can see that with just 4 lines of code, you'll be able to develop what is called as deep neural network algorithm. So I can just say net is equal to AlexNet, and then I'll just read the image. The image read is peacock.jpg, and once I pass this image, okay, before passing it, AlexNet had a set of rules. So image here, what is called as resized in the form of 227 cross 227, and once you pass this particular image to the network or to the classifier, you can see that it would classify what is called as the data as peacock. So it's just 4 lines to perform what is called as classify the input image. And remember, if you may ask me, sir, 1,000 classes are there, that means image of a parrot is taken, and that image was not in that category of training, then it will point out to the nearest image of a bird category. Okay, so like that, AlexNet would work. But in that case, you can perform transfer learning, and you can use your images, and then you'll be able to develop algorithms. So these are few of the areas where you can see ImageNet can be used in what is called as self-driving cars, which we call it as RCNN, semantic segmentation of multispectral images using deep neural network to tell the vegetation. It might be in signal processing, it might be in classifying the data, or it might be in terms of classifying images using Google. Okay, so hence it is very versatile, and then you will be able to work on. So whenever you are performing convolution, how exactly the images would look like, that is what I just wanted to show you. So you can, the computer, how exactly it would be able, the image of a cat which has been loaded in. So you can see that there are shades of black and white, and this is how the image in terms of iterations, like 16th iteration, 17th iteration, or 18th epoch, you can see that is how the image would get identified. If I ask what is this, people would be difficult to tell that. People may say it is, but when you pass this particular image through what is called as AlexNet, it would be automatically identifying that it is a Arctic fox. Okay, so it would perform in somewhere around 17th epoch. So this is where once we run the on MATLAB, we have just screen captured this, and through MATLAB we have quoted it here so that you'll be able to see the real-time results. Hence, what machine learning algorithms are there to be justified. As transfer learning is concerned, so I said parrot is not there in that 1,000 classes, or you want to classify a new network. Instead of doing it, taking thousands of millions of images and developing a network, what I'll be doing is I'll be using what is called as transfer learning, where I can just go and change few layers. So whenever I perform a transfer learning, the checklist would be whether I'll be using LXNet, GoogleNet, or require a network. I should require a training data, and I would be requiring what is called as training options data. From what is called as transfer learning, where I'll be having the variables as net, data, options, and with just one line of code, you can see that I can train the entire network and perform, where I'll be replacing my 23rd layer. So whenever I say net dot layers of AlexNet, you can see that you'll be able to see the 25 layers. I'll be able to what is called as make a change in this 23rd layer and perform what is called as transfer learning. So this is one of, see, we have performed transfer what is called as Lego Mindstorm Robo, which is performing what is called as solving this Rubik's Cube. So when I press that particular red button, it would be able to solve this particular Rubik's Cube within no time. Okay, you can see that uh, it will visualize that, and then I mean you change it to any angle, it will visualize that, and then it will start changing or performing the different options. Okay, so initially it will check out all the combinations, and using machine learning you are actually converting, solving that particular Rubik's Cube, and you can see that it's working fast, and it has to be done by one of the person. So let me just forward it. You can see that within somewhere around 4 minutes, it will be able to. Completely solve cube within 5.07 seconds. So like that, you'll be able to develop machines on real-time scenario. Okay, so these kind of platforms, I mean, MATLAB supports, and to use a pre-trained network, you can just use with just one line of code, depending upon the area of your interest. Go and check what is called as a documentation page with the reference model like AlexNet, VGG60, VGG19, GoogleNet, Inception, V3, right? So when I was working for one of my, we had used ResNet 50 and 101 for signature classification for one of the student project, and we had SqueezeNet where we'll be using it for, I mean, lung cancer cell detection. So such kind of things can be done in real time. Okay, so two approaches are concerned. In case of deep neural network, from scratch, whereas in terms of transfer learning, you'll be using the pre-trained network and then performing the transfer learning. So what is the amount of data required in as far as what is called as pre-trained network transfer learning? You'll be requiring images somewhere around hundreds to thousands, whereas in case of transfer learning, you'll be requiring images of somewhere around thousands of millions of labeled images. And in the first case, you may use your normal system to do the operation, because if your images are of thousands of millions of images, at that time it would take weeks to what is called as solve the corresponding or prepare a model from scratch. You'll be loading network. Followed by that, you'll be replacing the final layer. And once the final layer is replaced, you'll be performing what is called as training the network. Once the training is done, you'll be predicting the results and telling which is the precise or which is the model which is giving you the precise. Okay, so this flow which you generally use. So whenever you load a network, you replace the final layers. Once the layers have been replaced, you use the new set of image which you have in. So parrot, for example, which I said. So here they have taken the image of a boat. You have taken the image of a hat and mug. So once they pass this particular image through this network, the network gets trained. And when you pass the new set of images, it will tell you that this is the accuracy. So instead of developing your own, you'll be taking AlexNet changing the final layers, and then you'll be performing what is called as pre-training. So followed where you'll be able to use it, you can see here classify what is called as food classification in terms of French fries, burger, sushi, pizza, right? These are 5 categories which we are having, and you can see here with just some 5 to 6 lines of using where you have different set of food which is available there, which is ice cream, chocolate, cake, hot dog. What you'll be doing is you'll be taking a real-time camera using LXNet, net is equal to LXNet, and then writing a for loop to capture the real-time images. So you can see that this is the code which is on the right, which you'll be using in. Okay, so you'll be loading the network that is using a MAT file, and then you'll write a while loop, and you're taking a snapshot out of it, resize the image as 227 cross 227 because LXNet was framed in that particular way. And once you that particular food, it would be able to identify the food that it's a pizza or whether it is a cake or so on. Okay, so this is training food classification network. So we had used these lines of code there for classification of food, where we loaded the network. We had used pre-trained network, so net is equal to LXNet, replace the final layers, which is 2 lines of code, and then train the network. So this can be done in activation in terms of cafe model also. Okay, so this is the which published associated to it, right? And you can use it for what is called as pedestrian detection also. So you can see that here we are using deep network on ARM where it's running on a Raspberry Pi, where you are able to identify the pedestrians on real-time scenario, and you can see the frame rate is somewhere around 4.2 frames per second, right? This line of code would be running on GPU. So once you program it until the power supply is running on that Raspberry Pi, it would be performing this operation until you connect it to a display unit. You can say what is called as developing autonomous vehicle, like it might be self-driving car where you can predict, decide which is the lane. It might be using some, and then you can integrate it with different sensors for using it for autonomous vehicles. The projects where you are able to identify emotions, so you can see that you just hold the camera and then you are able to identify whether the person is happy, neutral, or angry, and this is where you are able to develop an automatic attendance system, and these algorithms can be directly ported on hardware like Raspberry Pi 4, or it might be Jetson Nano, or it might be what is called as RTX1 and TX. So you can see these are the real-time scenarios or results which are being projected here. So you can see that these kind of things you'll be able to do that with just click of button. I said in MATLAB you did not write a CUDA code or a Python code, or if you have a Python code, there are different methods where you can directly import a cafe model into and then perform the operation. So you can see that on real time it is able to identify it is a cup, it is a mug, or it is what is called as a mobile phone, or it is what is called as your board. So like that on real time scenario, you'll be able to deploy the algorithms on the hardware of your. You'll be able to develop it on multi-platform, and it might be in terms of an Android or Intel. You'll be able to deploy the code on hardware of your chip and then develop real-time algorithms. Okay, so whenever you are running the algorithms on GPUs, okay, you can see here if I'm having a GPU, the time of execution would reduce drastically. It is almost half, or it is exactly half of you using it on a one CPU, and then instead of that using somewhere around 4 GPUs. So whatever this board which is which is called as PX2, it has somewhere around 256 cores on it. Okay, or those number of, you can imagine the speed of operation. Okay, so these are the roles you can get filled into an artificial engineer. So you can get into these different areas. It might be in terms of image recognition, sentiment analysis. So you can see these days there are a lot of projects which are being going on in terms of smart cities. It might be in Davangere, Bangalore, Mangalore, right? So they are more interested in developing these kind of applications in terms of speech recognition, video surveillance, palm filtering, or it might be online customer support, or coming up with something called as different kinds of algorithms to be developed in, okay, where you have a virtual assistant system or an online customer support system which you can develop in. Okay, so such kind of things can look into jobs in the area of robotics and scientists. So this is in specific to India. Okay, so where you can work as AI research scientist, AI engineer, machine learning, and an AI architect. So to before wind up, I just have 5 minutes now. Let me just show you one demo on transfer learning also. So let me just come here and take you to D5. We have transfer learning here. Let me just close this. Clear everything.
Pramod, I have
Yeah.
one suggestion. If you can talk about 1 minute on our upcoming program on artificial intelligence, 5 days, and also
Yeah. Yeah, I have it. Okay, I'll show you that.
yeah, okay.
Demo here, right? So demo we haven't. So basically, you can see here we have folders here. So where you're having your own set of images. So if I show you, this is my image database where you're performing the classification in terms of van, trucks, big trucks, and SUVs. So this is stored here. So I was talking about performing, you can see the images which have been stored. So let me just right click and open it outside MATLAB. Image which we are trying to load, and let us come back folder. You just and let me just run this. Do is you're trying to visualize the 5 set of images which are out there. Okay, so from those folder you're randomly trying to extract the images on and visualize that. Once that is being done, what you're doing is you are randomly checking the images. Followed by that, you are loading the network with just one line of code, which is called as net is equal to lxnet, followed by checking the layers in it. Okay, and you would be using 2 lines of code. Okay, just 2 lines of code. You can see we are able to get the output also. So you are just using 2 lines of code to change the network. So this way the images are not used in. Okay, and then you are giving the weights associated to it. So you are telling batch size with the S20. You can go and give your own epoch depending upon the GPUs which you have in, and then you'll be able to see corresponding result. So you can see here on real time, your machine is performing training. You can see it is performing the training and developing a model. Okay, so I'm just running it on 2 cores. Yeah, I can go here and go on increasing my cores and then make the algorithm work at a faster rate. Okay, so this is what we have in terms of what is these are few of the examples which I just wanted to show you in terms of LXNet. And let me just come here. So these are the packages which, okay, this is with respect to per year, and this is the job market analysis if you are working with MATLAB. And let me just come back here and launching what is called as Friday session. We just show it. We are in touch with most of the colleges. So what is called as image processing. We'll be also focused on deep neural network, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Okay, so these are a few of the areas which we will be working with, and to the portal. So if anyone is interested, like I'm just sharing
Yeah.
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 The 5-day online trainings which we'll be doing in, and we have concepts associated with neural learning, neural network transfer learning, right? So whatever we just showed you, we would be demonstrating it, and it has a lot of case studies and projects we'll be covering in. So the prerequisite is less, just like if you know the basics of C programming, that's enough. We'll be starting it from basics, and then we'll be developing algorithms associated to it. Okay, and as far as the key features and benefits are concerned, like you'll have a global recognized e-certificate which you'll be getting in, and you'll also be able to perform what is called as transfer learning and on these areas. The key features here would be in these projects, whatever you'll be having in whatever 2 projects which I just demonstrated, such kind of projects would be demonstrated. So this is just for a 5-day. And one more, we have one continuous rigorous training where we talk about neural network, computer vision, image processing, AI. Okay, so these kind of things in terms of hardwares also. Param, can you just zoom in that hardware stuff? We see a lot of companies coming up with this AI ML courses, and this is not just recorded screen videos. This would be live classes where we would be showing you the on these platforms, like it might be NVIDIA Jetson, Google Cora, which is a TPU, and then we also have something called as Raspberry Pi. So these are few of the things we will be doing in, and there are a lot of projects which we work on this particular 30 days, and we're just charging 3K of this particular for this particular training, where you can see we'll be showing you projects on how exactly the spam has been detected in your mail, image classification, or it might be EPL match predictions, vehicle detection, segment sentiment analysis, or it might be Raspberry Pi and NVIDIA Jetson based projects would also be covered here. Okay, so this is contact details, and that's a feedback link. And if there is any requirement for this particular project, I think Param, can you share them that registration link in the chat box? Let them go through the agenda and all those stuff what we cover in.
Yeah,
And
that will be shared via email, Raman. Yeah, that will be shared in the email.
yeah, so whoever is signing in there with the feedback, as well as we'll be sending you the entire agenda, what will be covered in these 30 days with uh, the time duration of the classes which we do, and what are the projects which we cover, which are the mini projects, major projects, what are the hardware using, and what are the requirements as far as to undergo this particular training. What requirements also will be sharing it. So example, go through it, and if there's any queries, you can obviously get back to us. Can write a mail to info@agmstech.com, or I think Param, can you put that slide of
Yes.
contact?
Yes.
Thank you for. I hope I have not wasted your time. Thank you for people being out there. It's almost 3:40. I have taken 10 minutes extra. So if there are any queries, obviously you can. Thank you for your patience, hearing. See you. See you.
Yeah, thank you, Pramod. Thanks for your informative session. I think most of the. So these are our contact details. Request participants to note down our contact details. And in the meantime, we'll be sharing the emails with our upcoming programs and our webinars. There are some free programs are there, and there are some paid programs are there. I request participants to keep checking their emails. They get updates. Also, you can visit our websites. Things will be updated in our website also. I request. So we'll be there. If anyone has any queries regarding any support required, anything is required, I request participants to drop us an email. We will definitely help you out in that. Any other questions? from the participants? So if someone wants to speak, they can speak now. They can unmute and speak. Who wants to speak? PPT will. Any other queries? So we'll be ending the session in another 1 minute. I request participants, if anyone has any queries, they can speak now.
Sir, I want to ask one question.
Yeah.
Sir, for doing this further courses, what are the eligibility or what are the requirements do the participants have?
See, it is just a basic knowledge of C, C++. Means the C.
C++, they should be
No.
well to
No, I
design the
think C is-
program under C++.
No, only C is required, not
Yeah,
C.
I think C is enough
Means it's just a basic knowledge
They
of C, not well known.
for linear. Enough.
What the basic knowledge? Because I have a knowledge of C when I was in class 12th.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there I
Starting with basics, say how exactly the variables are defined. From there, we'll be starting in a 30 days program. We'll also start up talking about cells arrays, creating tables. Because if you want to work as a data scientist, you should be able to create tables. So if you're able to do this much, I mean, from there we can take it further. Because whatever data which are loaded in, it was through apps, right? So such kind of things will be able to share and we'll be able to execute during our session.
because I am from bio background, so I want to know that it would be suitable for me or not.
To be very specific, say for example, you are working on ECG or EGG, whatever example which I just showed you. Particular area, at that case, I mean,
No, your voice is not clear.
Yeah, Pramod, you're there?
is it audible?
Yeah,
Yes,
please.
ma'am.
Hello. Yeah, see, is more than enough for us to take course. So if you are extracting a real-time signal, you can directly use the apps and then you can develop algorithms. You do not write a lengthy program for that. So whenever we do the programming, we already have created templates where you have to just make some changes in the template and develop machine learning algorithms.
Okay, sir.
Any other participants? Any queries? Any participants queries?
See, there is Ramakrishna Hegde who has asked like MATLAB is licensed, and during this session, whatever MATLAB will be giving you state version, you have to download MATLAB and there will be certain system requirements which you can install in your systems and then you'll be able to work on it. Okay, so we'll give you all those link and the details associated.
I have pasted the link once again on the chat box. I request participants to submit the feedback. I request participants to submit the feedbacks. I'll be ending the session in another 30 seconds. Yeah. Thanks, Pramod. Thanks, Ramesh.